Hello and welcome to the MyHeritage webinar series. I'm Marian Pierre-Louis, your host, broadcasting to you live from Eastern Massachusetts. Today we have Uri Gonen, who is with us live in Toronto, Canada, for his class Family Statistics on MyHeritage. Thanks to Uri and thanks to the nearly 900 of you for registering for today's live webinar. So wherever and whenever you are, glad to have you with us. And now to introduce our speaker. Uri Gonen has been working at MyHeritage since 2005. He was the original developer behind the Family Tree Builder and the product manager of MyHeritage's genealogy search engine. He was involved with the Pedigree Map, Pedigree View, Tree Consistency Checker, and integrations with Family Search. Before joining MyHeritage, Uri worked in other software startups in Israel, the United States, and Canada. Please put your virtual hands together and let's give Uri Gonen a nice, warm webinar welcome. How are you, Uri? Welcome to this webinar.
I'm doing well. Thank you very much.
All right, let me switch over to your screen. All right, that looks great. Time's all yours, Uri.
Okay, thanks for the introduction. My name is Uri Gonen. I've been working at MyHeritage for more than 15 years now, involved in long history of our company, doing product management, product development, business development, and many other things. Throughout my career at MyHeritage, I've been working on many projects. Among them, which is what I'm going to show you today, is the Family Statistics page. So let's begin. So just a quick overview of MyHeritage. So what are we about? If anybody who just needs a little refresher, just generally here, we give you a platform for you to build, manage, research your family history by building a family tree, sharing it with other family members so you can collaborate on your research and documentation. We have many different things regarding the family tree, different ways to look at it and different ways to work with it. A lot of features around family photos, which you can add to your family tree, mention who is who in the photo and tag them, so to speak, and connect them to the family tree, and many other features regarding family photos, enhancing them, colorizing black and white photos, even animating them, and many other amazing features regarding family photos. Of course, we have many historical records, billions of them, that we provide as part of MyHeritage that will allow you to find more information about your family in censuses and in birth records and in newspapers and in other family trees of other MyHeritage members. And we, of course, find those things for you automatically when you start building a family tree. So all these things tie together. Of course, there is also the DNA analysis. We sell DNA kits, or you can upload DNA results that you have from other vendors, and we will give you matches, ethnicity, estimates, and many other tools regarding DNA. And of course, everything ties together once you have a tree, and the DNA and the tree all go together, helping you do your research. So kind of an overview of MyHeritage. So here is the family tree. This is actually my family tree. You can see here myself, my children, brothers, sisters, parents, grandparents, and so on. And I built a tree. I have over 1,500 people in my tree. I should probably do more, but I'm more focused now on providing features for you guys to do that. And as I mentioned before, just some screenshots of different ways to work with your tree. So we have the view that I showed you before, but there's also a pedigree view. There is a fan chart view. There is list views. Of course, it works in mobile web and in also a mobile app that we have. Here is a way to look at it as a timeline, as a map. You can print charts and print books and many different ways to work with your family tree. So it's very rich. if once you have a family tree, which you either built it on MyHeritage, or you could have imported a tree that you have from somewhere else, like using a GEDCOM file, or if you're a Family Search LDS member, we have a quick way of importing part of your tree, of the Family Search tree around you, directly into MyHeritage. So you can use all these tools that I'm showing here, and of course, specifically the family statistics that I'm going to talk about today. So what do I mean by family statistics? What is it? It's a way to obtain a sort of high-level view of your family tree, and we'll look at all the different things that family statistics tell you. You can gain insights about both your family history, the tree that you built, and also your work in documenting what you have there, what's missing, and so on. Now, some of the statistics can also highlight potential mistakes that you have in your family tree, and we'll see that as well. So let's dig in. How do you even get to the family statistics page? We have a main menu. The first item there is called Home. If you hover over it, you'll see that there's a few sections. The second one is called Family Statistics. Click there and you will get to the Family Statistics page. Okay, so now we are in the Family Statistics, and you can see that there are several tabs: Overview, Relationships, Places, Ages, Births, Marriages, Children, and Divorces. So all these different areas of your family information, you can get to statistics about them by navigating through those tabs. So the first tab is called Overview, and we have in this page 6 statistics boxes, so to speak, that show you information about a particular type of stat that it highlights. So let's kind of zoom into the top part, and you see we have gender, living versus deceased, and relationship status, that kind of marriage status between couples. So you can see here in my tree, out of the 1,532 people that I have, that almost half are male, almost half are female. That's pretty straightforward. I mean, you wouldn't expect anything much different than that. And a few that have an unknown gender. People that I don't know what their gender is. Either I added them to the tree, or some of my family members that I have invited to the tree that might have added their part of the tree have added without a gender. Living versus deceased, you can see that in my tree, 2/3 are living and only 1/3 are deceased. Some trees will be very different depending on what you do on MyHeritage. Some people only add deceased people and mostly focus on going back in time. Some people use it more as a place to document and also share information about with your living relatives. Regarding relationship statuses, you see how many couples are married. Some are single. Single meaning that you have a person with children but with no partner. A widow, divorces, and other ones as well. Now, each one of those, well, actually not each one of those, but gender and living and deceased are also clickable. So if I want to find out who are those 10 unknown gender people, I can click on the gray section, either in the ring or below it. In this case, it would be a lot easier since it's so small, on the unknown or 10 numbers. So if I click, I will be able to get to the list of those 10 people that unknown gender. So here it takes me to what we call the list view, which is one of the 4 ways to look at the family tree. The traditional family view, which shows a person and their close family. The pedigree view, which shows a person and their ancestors. The fan view, which is also a person and their ancestors, but more in a kind of geometric fan. And the list view is just a list of people. And in this case, we are filtering by only people who have an unknown gender. So here I can look, maybe I realize what the gender is. so I can go and add them. Or I can click through these. This is all the features of the family tree that you can select more options like view their tree in this case, and I can get to the tree and find out who is this person. In fact, it's two siblings. So here I have a family that I know. This person, Jeno, had 2 children, but I don't know who they are and what their names are and obviously what their gender. So this is a situation that you can find all these people by going to the family statistics and look at these kinds of people that have a certain property. Same with the deceased and living, although it's a little bit less interesting. If you scroll down in the overview section, we get to names. And here I have the 15 top last names in my family tree. And the same thing with 15 top male first names and female first names. And again, I can click, just like you saw before, for example, the first name here, Bigir, which is actually my mother's maiden name. And if I click, I can see those 26 people, click, and it goes again to the list view filtered by a certain surname. So a quick way to find those people. Okay, now we're moving to the second tab, which is actually a new tab, a new area of the family statistics page that was added not long ago. And it gives you a high-level view and more detailed view as well of the different types of relationships, meaning how are people related to you in the family tree. Of course, once you have a person in the family tree, you can look at how they are related to you. We have, of course, ways to do that. But this here shows you by types of relationships, who are those people. So at the top of the relationships section, we have a box called General, which shows you how many people you have altogether. We have a tree that I have is 1,532. How many of them are actually related to me? And the majority are. You see on the right, there are 9 people who actually are not related to me. So if I start for myself and go to either my father or mother or brother and so on, I will never be able to get to them, meaning that they are disconnected from me in the tree, which is an interesting thing to find out. Because generally speaking, you don't want that situation. How does it happen? Either you imported a tree that already had these problems, which could happen, or you have a tree and you disconnected people from the tree and forgot to reconnect them again. So sometimes you have a situation where a person is not attached correctly in the tree. So there is a way in the tree to say, remove this connection and then put them back in the right place. But if there are people who you removed but never added back, you'll get that situation. In my case, let's go on to the third histogram here. We have how many are my blood relatives. So blood relatives mean that we share a common ancestor. So it could be, my parents, grandparents, of course, they are my ancestors. Or it could be one of their children, so cousins, uncles, aunts, second cousins, and so on. Brothers, sisters, nephews, nieces, children, grandchildren. These are all my blood relatives. So in my case, only 366 out of the 1,500 are blood relatives, and the rest are not. So they are related through some sort of marriage in the tree. So we don't have a common DNA, common blood, so to speak. 49 of them are my ancestors, 3 are my descendants, and I have 3 children. And the 1,156, these are those related by marriage, meaning they are not blood relatives. And as we mentioned, 9 are not related to me. The nice thing about it, again, is I can click each one of those boxes, each one of those charts, and I can go and see who they are. So let's look at ancestors, which are very interesting, of course, in the tree. And let's look at the not related to me, which are people that I want to figure out what to do with. So if I click on my ancestors, I will get here again, back, we're going to the list view, filtered by ancestors. And we see here my father, my grandfather, and so on, going down the list, my 49 ancestors that I have added to my family tree. And if we look at the other one called not related to you, we'll get here to a list of people that are not connected to me in the tree. And I can go and investigate here what to do. Should I reconnect them in the right place? Should I just delete them because they're unneeded? So this is a good tool to look at these situations, problems in your tree. Now, scrolling down from the overview section of the relationship page, we go to 3 pieces of information about, again, how are people related to me in the tree. So the first one, the yellow one in this case, is called Steps Away from You, which breaks down the relationships of all the people in the tree, all the ones that are related to me, into how far away are they from me in the tree. So 1 step away from you, this is the first one with 9, are basically parents, children, siblings, spouse. These are those 9 people. 2 will be anybody 1 step away from those people. So grandparents, aunts and uncles, nephews, sister-in-law, grandchildren if I have, and so on. Mother-in-law, people who are 1 step away, then 3, 4, 5, and so on, up to 10 and above. So a typical situation will exactly look like this. You have, of course, few 1 step away from you, a bit more 2, 3, 4. At some point you get to some maximum, and then it starts to go down, not because you don't have those people, it's because you did not really care to document them in your tree. Your tree is infinite, really. So this is that. Again, you can click each one of them and see all those people who are 1 step away from you or 2 steps away from you, and kind of see who those people are, just like we saw before. Generation difference from you is another way to look at those relationships, but basically of how much up or down are they in the tree compared to me. So in this case here, if we look at this same generation as you, the one where the majority of the people are, 355, those are all the people in the family tree that I have that are in my generation. So siblings, cousins, second cousins, spouse, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, all those people, spouses of cousins, and all those people that are really on my generation. Some of them could be much older than me, some could be much younger than me, but generally speaking, they are the same generation. 1 generation above me will be my parents, uncles and aunts, mother-in-law, all those people who are 1 step away in the tree, and so on. You can go and see 2 generations. As you go up, you of course have less and less people. Then 1 generation below me is the generation of my children, so nieces, nephews, children of cousins, and so on and so on. And 2 generations. Here you'll not have a lot. I mean, as if you're a bit older, then you might have a little bit more down here. So again, you can click on each one and see all these people. Another way to look at the tree is how many marriages or could be non-marriage relationships as well away from me people are. So those 366 related to you without marriage, these are again those blood relatives that we looked at before. And then people who are related to me by 1 marriage. So it could be my wife, or it could be my brother's wife, or it could be my cousin's wife, and so on. And then 2 marriages, so there is a spouse of a spouse somewhere along the line, and so on, 3 and 4. So again, click on each one to see who these people are. So this is a good way to look at the breakdown of, your tree and how people are related to you, how far they are from you in different ways. And we continue to scroll down this new relationship page, and we get to, oh, here I have this example of click on 7 generations above you. I only have 4 people. And I can see here are those 7 generation ancestors that I have in the tree, or 4 of them. And I can look at them and modify them, edit them. If I'm looking at anything that I want to do, look at their tree, do a research on them, and so on. Scrolling down, we get to a section called How People Are Related to You, which basically are looking at the main branches of the tree away from me. So we looked at how many steps away from me people are, and how many generations above and below me are, and how many marriages away from me. But another interesting way to look at it is what we see here, the blue section here, is all the people who in the tree that are related to me through my father. So basically my father's line. And furthermore, I can break it down by those who are related to me through my father, how many specifically through my father's father, so his brothers and sisters or his parents and so on, how many through my father's mother, below that, and the rest would be both father and mother. So, for example, and look at here an example of my mother, which I see also that I have a much larger tree through my mother's side, 455, versus 199 through my father's side. And the same here through my mother's father or my mother's mother. The reason I have more through my mother's side is because she has 3 siblings and my father is an only child, so there's just less family there. But this kind of gives you a good overview of that. Sometimes you're not really even aware of the fact that through your mother you have a lot more in your tree than through your father, and so on. And the same, you can even go further through my mother's mother. I have a bit more than through my mother's father. Same thing for my spouse. So in this case, through my spouse, all the relatives of her are actually much more than of my relatives. I actually built a tree of both sides, and more research and more information was added through my wife's side. And so this is an interesting point as well. If you're kind of interested in where your research has been done and maybe where you need to focus because you don't have enough, this is a good way of looking at that. Similarly, through my brothers, I have their family. So their spouses, their children, their spouses, parents, and so on. Not much, of course. And through my children, I have one child who's married, so there is one additional person through one of my children. Again, click on each one of them, and you'll be able to see who these people are. So let's look at my mother's mother. And if I click here, I will be able to see all those 191 people that are related to me through my mother's mother. And here they are. So this is another interesting thing, that this family statistics tools gives you the opportunity to do very complicated filtering on the list of people based on those criteria. Let's move on. So this relationship page has yet another section at the below, which is your blood relatives. Remember, we talked about those 366 people that are related to me directly without any marriage in the way. So we share DNA, we share blood. And here we have, I zoomed out a bit because it's quite a large chart. I see here a breakdown of those blood relationships based on the types of relationships to me that are blood. So if you remember DNA pages, this is a very similar chart that we show there, because there we concentrate exactly on those DNA relatives, blood relatives, people who you share DNA with. So it's very similar to that. So in my case here, I have myself, and here I have 2 parents, 2 grandparents, 8 grandparents, of course, 4, 8. Here it starts to go a little bit down because I don't have all the information. I have 2 siblings. I do. I have 5 nieces and nephews, 3 children, 9 cousins, 21 second cousins, and so on. So all these relationships, how many there are. Also half relationships. So I have here half siblings of my second great grandparents. So they basically share one parent with them, but not two. So I have all this information, and I can click again each one of those. So let's look, for example, of cousins. I have 9 of them. So if I click this box, I will be able to quickly see all my 9 cousins. Here they are. So this is, again, a very powerful tool that allows you to get insight, see the breakdown of the different types of relationships, and even go and see all those people who have that relationship. So if you ever wonder who all your second cousins are in the tree, you go back to that page, click on second cousins, and you'll see all of them. A handy little feature that this adds. Okay, we said a lot about the relationships page, which is a new page that was added in the last year. So we kind of gave an introduction of that. Now let's go into the other pages that were there for quite a while, but we kind of just updated the look and added a few little things to that. So let's look at the third page in this section called Places. So here I have places of birth to start with. We'll scroll down, we'll see other places. But places of birth tells me in my tree, I have 305 people that I actually have their place of birth out of those 1,500 that I have. So only a fifth of them. And out of those, I can see the breakdown of the top countries. I have a lot in Israel. I am originally from Israel, so that makes sense. Canada, which is where I live now, and my wife's family is from, so a lot from there. Poland, a lot of Jewish ancestry came from there, USA, and so on. At this point, these are not clickable. You cannot actually click and go and see all these people. But we do have another tool that has been in the product for a while called Pedigree Map, which is really where you would want to do that. So just to kind of do a quick reminder, if you go to the family tree section Pedigree Map, you will be able to see a lot more information regarding places. And here in this screenshot, I have only my ancestors, so I can filter here which. So not everybody in the tree, which is a little bit meaningless because you have a mix of, my wife's side and my father's side and mother's side and lots of people. So here I can go, for example, and say, show me only ancestors and show me their birthplaces. So here I can actually see exactly those places of birth, but in this case of my ancestors, which is usually very interesting. So we can see a lot of them from Belarus and from Ukraine and from Israel. Today Israel, some of them were born there in the 1800s, before it was even Israel. So that's kind of a quick reminder of Pedigree Map and the features regarding places there. Scrolling down, you can see the same thing for places of death and for places of residence. So where do people live today, and where have people died in my recorded in my family tree? The next section in the family statistics is called ages, and we have a few boxes there. Let's start going over them. So the first, the one with the green bars, is called age distribution. And it shows me of all the living people in my family tree that have a birth date, so 397, what is their age, current age in the tree? So we see that I have 30 that are age 0 to 9, 50 that are in their teens, 36 in their 20s, and so on. So that kind of gives me an idea of what are the current ages of people in my tree. Now these ones are not clickable, unfortunately. Perhaps in the future we'll do that. So this is my ages in my tree, and also the maximums and the minimums. So oldest living people. I see here that I have a person who is 120 years old, and top female and top male, and that is kind of suspicious. So here is an example of the fact that the statistics highlight another problem. We saw the ones with not related to me. Here we see people with an age that is a bit suspiciously high, and you might want to go from here and immediately mark them as deceased, and then that person will disappear from here, and the next person will appear, who is a bit younger. So this is a handy tool. If I go here into that person, I can click and go and look at their tree, and I can see who this person is. And then I can see, yeah, he was born in 1903. Maybe I should go and figure out that he's deceased, or maybe ask my wife or her mother and ask her to confirm the fact that this person is deceased. So this also gives me who is the closest person that I should talk to find out more information here. If you click on, let's go back to this page. Apart from the top female and male, I can also click on top 10, each one of those types of boxes, and it shows me the top 5 of each gender. So we looked at already this 120 and 111, but here it shows me more people with a very high age, so maybe they are also people who are deceased already. So I can do the same thing by looking at more people. And looking back to here, these are the youngest people who are just born, that I know when they were born in the last year or two. And if I don't see here somebody that I know was just born 2 months ago, maybe it's because I never added their age, and I should go and add their age. And it kind of gives me a reminder that things that are missing. Scrolling down in the ages page, we get to also things called the life expectancy, and people who are actually deceased and how long did they live. So the first one is based on gender. So we kind of divide life expectancy by gender. And in my tree, out of all the people who are deceased, the average age of death of males is 64, and the average age of female at death is 67. And here we have a breakdown of people who died before the age of 40, how many men and how many women, people died in their 40s, in their 50s, and so on. Again, not clickable at this point, but it gives you an idea of how many people there are at least. And again, maximums and minimums. I have here a person who died at the age of 104. Very nice with the top male, the top female, and again, click top 10 to see 5 of each gender. And those who died at the youngest age. So I have here 2 people who died before the age of 1. One, I don't even know their name, just called, I know that they died as an infant, but you can see they were born and died in the same year. We also see that there is an X here. So some of those boxes you can also click on X these are for ones that are information that might be a little sensitive. So if other members of your family tree go here and you want to hide it from them, you can do that. So people who died very young, maybe you want to remove that so other members won't be able to see it. So if I do that, this section appears as disabled, and only you can do this click here to bring it back. We'll see those kinds of X's in other sections that are considered potentially be sensitive. The next page is called births, and here we only have 3 boxes, 3 tables. the first one is birth months, and you can see out of all the people that I know which month they were born in, how is it divided. So 34 were born in January, 37 in February. We have it there. I think that's probably the least interesting chart, because you'll usually get a uniform distribution here, and it doesn't really mean much. The same for zodiac signs. It's pretty much the same thing, but just shifted by 21 days. And then a little bit more interesting is, out of the people that I know which year they were born, when were they born? So I have 3 people in my tree only that were known to be born before 1800. In many trees on MyHeritage, potentially you have research that goes much more back in time. You might here have 1700s and 1600s areas in this chart. And then I have 1800s, I have a lot, and then the 20th century is already divided by decades, and you can see here all the way up to the current decade. Let's move on. Marriages. So marriages, we have a few charts. The first one is about numbers. The first 3 is about number of marriages in my family tree. So we can see that the average is either 1.1 or 1 marriages. Makes sense. Most of the people that were married once. And there are some that are married twice and some that are married 3 times even. And here, as we had before, people who are married the most. So I have a person who was married 3 times, Morris, and a person here who was married 3 times as well. And that sometimes is something suspicious if there is a lot. And many times it's a problem in the tree. And let's actually investigate this. So let's look at Morris. This is 3 times. Not that much, but it's a little bit suspicious. So let's click on that. And we go and look at his tree. And we see here that, in fact, he is married to Helen. There's 2 instances of Helen. So maybe it's a problem in the tree. There is a duplication here, and I want to go and merge, delete one of them, see what do I have in one that I don't have in the other, and get rid of that. So many of those things, yet again, the family statistics lead me to problems in the tree that they highlight. So people who are married too many times, probably a problem in the tree. What else did we have here? We also had when were people married. So the same thing like we saw with birth years, with marriage years. There's a lot less information in my tree, and I think in most trees have a lot more birth years than marriage years. But out of those that we have, when are people married, which decades, which centuries, going back in time as well. If we scroll down, we now have the ages of people when they were married. So the chart on left shows how old were people when they got married. So we have in their teens, a lot more women than men. That makes sense because women usually marry younger, and it would be a lot more common, especially in the past, for women to be in their teens when they got married. Most of them are in their 20s, some in their 30s, and so on. And we also see who are the oldest people in my tree when they got married. So this is actually a couple, my uncle and his wife, second wife, and they got married when he was quite old. And also youngest. So I have here a male who was 19 and a female who was 15. That's the youngest age of a woman marrying in my tree. And if I want to see more, again, click top 10 and you'll see the women and men who were youngest when they were married according to my family tree. Scrolling down in the marriage section, we have also the length of marriages. Marriage duration in years. So I have 7 people who were married for 0 to 9 years. A lot more with 10 and 19 and so on, how many people were married. So basically I know when the couple got married, and either then they got divorced or one of them passed away. So that would be how many years they are married or were married. Longest marriage, again, potentially a problem. 158 years married? Probably not. So they were married in this year, and probably I haven't marked any of them as deceased, so it looks like as if they're married for so long. Again, potentially a sign that I should go and fix something in my family tree. And shortest marriage, and here I'm actually highlighted with my previous marriage, but let's not get into that. And the last one in the marriage is highlighting the age difference between husband and wife in a marriage. So the age difference, the average is 3.7 years, husband being older than the wife. And we see that husband is 10 or more years older than the wife is 10, husband is 5 to 9 years is 29, and so on. So I can see that. And I can see the maximums of each one. So husband much older than wife, I see a 14 age difference, which kind of makes sense. And when the wife is much older than the husband, I see an oddity again, which is a wife which is 81 years older than her husband, probably not, again, showing a potential problem in the tree. So let's actually go and investigate that. Again, I can click the husband in this case and go to view his tree, and I can see that there are many problems here. He was born in 1988 and died in 1906, so he died before he was born, and his children were born before he was born, and many problems here. So this is probably a mistake. Something was added incorrectly. And I can also see another tool that we have called the consistency issues. In fact, our system identified those problems automatically by looking at things that don't make sense. And I could have found that out through the consistency checker, which checks for consistency issues. Let's click on this 6 consistency issues about this person. And you can see that it found a lot of problems that exactly what I mentioned, that his death is before his birth and that his children are actually older than him and so on, and that they actually were born before he died and so on and so on. And the large age difference that this is how we came to this problem with this 81 years. So the consistency checker is a tool that we also have. You can run it on your entire tree. In fact, it runs for you, and you might even got emails when it ran on your tree and provided those insights for you. So another tool that we have that you can get to, and the statistics can find issues just like the consistency checker does. Okay, going back to the pages of the family statistics, and let's get to children. So children, talk about children in families, what's going on there. So the first chart shows how many children per families I have in my tree. I have 90 couples without children. I have 141 with 1 child. I have 137 with 2 children, and so on, going down to 7 with 8 or more children. And again, families with the most amount of children. So I have this couple here, Bernard and Bertha, who had 12 children. That's the most. And another one here is people with the most amount of children, not necessarily couple. So I could have a person who married several times and had children with more than one spouse. So the number here many times will be higher than the number here. And again, I can click and see who these people are and go and see more people with a lot of children by clicking top 10 or top 3 in case of couples. Scrolling down this page, I will get to another insight about children, and that is age of people when they had children. So when did people have children? So by average, male had at the age of 32. So some before, some after. If you had multiple children, what is your average age of having children? Females predictably at a younger age. And you can see by decades, people who had children in their teens, in their 20s, in their 30s, that's the majority of when people have children, and so on. And again, going to here, who was the oldest when having a child, and who were their youngest when having a child. So again, this shows problems. I have a person here who had a child at the age of 6, so that's probably a problem, and I should go and investigate what is going on here. And maybe here too, people who had a child at 72 and 69, this is actually a couple. Maybe something's wrong here. So let's look at this person who had a child at the age of 6. And I actually don't have it in the presentation, but you probably will find a problem. Their child was born after, or this birth date of this person is incorrect, and so on. Go and fix your tree. And going down in this page called Children, the last section, the last 3 boxes are age differences between oldest and youngest children in a family. So I have families with multiple children. I have 2 siblings with what's their age gap. So we have less than 1 year, 1 to 2, and so on. And who are the people with the biggest difference of age and their children in the same family? So I have 48 years difference between those. Is it right? Is it a mistake? You can go and figure out from here. And same day is obviously twins. Last section here called divorces. I won't go over it too much, but again, number of divorces, longest marriage ending in divorce, how many divorces people have, age when divorced, oldest when divorced, and youngest when divorced, similar to what we saw before. And again, all these have an X because some people don't really care to publish this information. So you can remove them, and other members of your family tree won't get to that. Okay, it was longer than I thought, so I think this is all I have to say. So thank you, and I hope you can use the family statistics section in MyHeritage, and it will give you insights and highlight issues and allow you to see information that you cannot see anywhere else on MyHeritage about your family tree. Handing back to you.
Okay, thank you, Uri. That is a great tool. I am loving it, and our audience is loving it too. Boy, there is so much in there, and it's actually really helpful, especially the way you can click through. So it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, let's do quick announcements, and we'll give out some door prizes, and then we'll bring Uri back on to do some of the questions that are here. All right, our next MyHeritage webinar will be in March after Roots Tech. So Roots Tech is the first weekend in March. And after that, Daniel Horowitz will be here to give a Roots Tech recap. And, Daniel Horowitz, he always does a very fun webinar, so I'm sure he's going to have a very amusing recap of Roots Tech. So definitely be sure to check that out. Go to familytreewebinars.com/MyHeritage webinars, and you can register for that. All right, we have some door prizes to give away. And our first door prize is a 1-year MyHeritage Complete Plan. And that will give you access to everything on MyHeritage. So it'll give you access, unlimited size capacity for your family trees, which is great for what Uri is showing you today. The more people you add to your tree, the more you're going to see in the statistics. I'm really excited about adding more people and seeing, slicing and dicing, and seeing all the statistics. It's really fun. So that's one part of the MyHeritage Complete Plan. And then the other part of the MyHeritage Complete Plan is the data subscription. And that gives you access to all the 13.3 billion historical records, which are on MyHeritage. So birth, marriage, and death records, census, military, immigration, newspapers, yearbooks, all sorts of things. All right, and the winner for this prize is going out to Kirsten Carl. So congratulations, Kirsten. You have just picked yourself up a MyHeritage Complete Plan. Our next door prize is a MyHeritage DNA test kit. And when you get your DNA test kit, of course, there are two sides to that. There's the ethnicity side, which will show you where your family comes from. And that's always a little surprising, even for people who think that they're 100% something. There's usually a little bit of something else. And then the second side is the DNA matches, and it actually connects you to your cousins who you're connected to. And this DNA test kit is going to go out to Joey Johnson. So congratulations, Joey. And I will be emailing both of you today with instructions for how you will get your prizes. All right, let's bring Uri back on, and we will do some of these questions. All right, one of the first questions I have, Uri, is from Rachel. And so she's concerned in terms of, with Jewish people, how the Holocaust impacts these statistics. And she wonders if there's a way to take people off so you can see like the life expectancy of people who died of natural causes. So you understand what I'm saying about how the statistics are kind of thrown off?
Yes, that's a good point. So we don't have a way to kind of distinguish between different causes of death and life expectancy based on that. We did get questions about that before, a request regarding the Holocaust, which we do actually support in the sense that when you create a person in MyHeritage, one of your ancestors and whatnot, and you can specify a cause of death if you wish. And one of them is Holocaust, and then that person will actually be highlighted as a Holocaust victim. One thing that we were considering is another part of those charts to kind of break down people in your tree based on their cause of death. And maybe even like you mentioned before, like you just mentioned, filtering life expectancy, not including particular causes of death, which is, I think, what the
right.
person is mentioning, but
right.
we don't have that. That's an interesting point.
Yeah, and she's also mentioning marriage length. That's also affected by that. So, you know, marriage length for people who lived a natural life versus marriage length for those who it was cut short. So, yeah, if you could tie in that Holocaust cause of death to some of these other ones, that could solve the problem for Rachel and people like her.
True. Even at the most basic thing that people have requested that we are considering doing is just listing all the people who have perished in the Holocaust in your family tree, which unfortunately we don't have at the moment, which I think could be beneficial. And then doing more like was mentioned here.
Also, the relationship tab in this new statistics feature, has that rolled out to everyone? Because some of our audience have it and some of them don't. And so, for instance, on my page, it says new above the relationships option.
Yes, it is new, but you don't see anything down there, you're saying. It's empty.
No, these people are saying they don't actually see the word relationship under family statistics. So it says overview, relationships, places, and they don't actually see the word relationships. It's not there.
Oh, okay. So if they don't see the relationships, it could be because... So the relationships only work if we know who you are in the family tree. And then we know how everybody else is related. So there are situations where you're not identified in the tree, and then probably everywhere you go in the tree and you select the person, and we show you how you're related. Remember, I showed in the screen, it says your father, your grandfather, your cousin. If we don't know who you are in the tree, we don't know how that person is related to you. Okay. So that could be the reason for it, and it could happen for various reasons if you have multiple trees in the site, and you're not looking at the one where you are, or for some other reason you're not there. So there is a way to kind of identify yourself. Say, oh, this individual in the tree is me. And once you do that, everything should work. I hope that's the issue. That's what I can imagine that causes it.
Okay, well, that's definitely a specific thing they can check out. So that's good. Lana's having another issue. So on the overview page, which shows gender, living, deceased, and relationship status, she's not seeing the charts at the top. She is seeing the stuff at the bottom, but she's not seeing the charts. Could that be a browser issue, or what do you think could be causing that?
Which charts at the top?
It's
again?
the overview tab. So in family statistics, so at the very top where you have gender, and then it has a circle, a colored circle, and then you have living versus deceased, and there's a colored circle there. I don't think she's seeing those charts. And maybe, Lana, if you try a different browser. If you're on Chrome, maybe try Firefox or something like that. See if it works. Maybe it's just an issue with that.
No, I've never seen such a situation, but yeah.
Yep. Yeah, because if you're seeing male and female at the bottom and it has numbers, then that means there is data. I mean, if it says male and female and there's no number, then that would mean there wouldn't show a chart because there would be no data. But if you have numbers next to male and female, it should be showing something.
Maybe if it's Internet Explorer, I know we don't support that anymore because it's...
Oh, Explorer, okay.
There is Microsoft Edge, which we support, and Microsoft generally stopped supporting it.
Oh, Lana's using Firefox. So anyways, do a little bit of experimenting, Lana, and then get back to us. Rachel is suggesting, how about showing how many people have DNA tested? That's a great idea. Like how many in your tree have DNA tested? That would be a really fun feature. I'm with you on that one, Rachel.
Yeah. We do. If you go to the DNA section in your tree, you will be able to see that. There's many various ways to see that.
Oh, okay.
Because it focuses only on DNA, so you can see all the. If you bought several kits, then gave to some of your family, then you will be able to see it there. There is a place called Manage DNA Kits, or if you're looking at results, there's a drop down that shows all the different people who have results, so you can focus on which one. So there you have it, but we didn't put it in the family statistics. Potentially interesting to show that too.
All right, just back to that, the chart's not showing. It seems like a number of people around Firefox are not seeing the charts, so there might be a little bit of a glitch with Firefox.
Okay, I definitely will check that and go to the developers and find out what the problem is.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I wrote it down.
Thank you. Let's see. A person here is asking, is there an option to switch or update the screen to a newer beta version?
There is no other beta version.
Okay.
That's the latest version.
Okay.
We worked on that in the past year. It's been rolled out, and that's it.
All right.
It says new still, but it's a few months old. At some point, that new badge will disappear and make room for new features.
Okay. Let's see. Sandy wants to know, in the list view for relatives, how is the order determined? And I think this is under the relationships tab.
In the list view for relatives, I think, if you go to the list view, by default, again, assuming that you are in the tree and we know how people are related to you, by default, we list them based on their relationship to you. So if you remember in the statistics relationship page, we have one of the charts called Steps Away From You. So myself, and then, which is 0, and then brother, sister, parents, children, spouses, 1, and then 2 and 3 and 4. So that's actually how the list is. When you go to the list view and shows all your people, It starts by showing you those who are yourself, and then people who are one step away from you, and then two, and three, and so on. So the further down the list, the farther they are from you. And within the same length of relationship, so all the people who are one step away from you, I'm not exactly sure how we order that. Is it first parents, then spouse, then siblings, then children, or is it a different order? I'm not absolutely sure. But generally, it's how far people are from you. But you can sort it differently if you want.
What's the difference between steps and generations? I'm not really clear on that.
Yeah. So steps is, if you think about it, like a cousin will be, what is a cousin? A cousin is the child of the sibling of my parent, right? Okay. So that's 3 steps away from me.
Okay.
Generation-wise, he is my generation. So he is, because we went up the tree to my parent and then down 1 step, again, child. So he is my generation. So that's generation 0 compared to me. And that's basically how those 2 charts kind of look at the tree.
Okay. All right. That's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see.
If you look at your family tree in the family view, the main view, and you have yourself in the tree somewhere. So all the people that are in the same level or vertically as you in the tree will be people of your generation. All the people who are above you in the family tree, be it your parents or your uncles and aunts or your other, my mother-in-law, they will be up in the tree 1 step from me. But they might be further away from me or closer to me in terms of steps away from me. Okay.
All right. Diane wants to know, how can you print the family tree? Is there a way to print it?
There's different ways to print it. So if I am in the, okay, so there's a few ways. The fan view, if you know what, if you give me the screen for a second,
hang on one second.
Show a few things live.
Oops.
Let's see how that goes.
There we go.
Okay, so we're looking at my tree. Let's see. All right, so here we are. Let's go to my family tree. Close this for a second. Some of the views are easier to print, and they're straightforward. So if I am in, this is actually a new thing coming, a sneak preview of those colors. They will be released soon. So anybody who sees it here knows that this is coming soon. If I am in the fan view, for example, it's really easy to print. We really support like a download, and then it basically creates a file that you can then go to a printer and print.
Is it creating a PDF?
Yes.
Great. Perfect.
It actually creates an image.
Oh.
JPEG.
Okay.
Yeah. PNG actually in this case. There's actually both.
So you download that to your computer, and once it's on your computer, then you can print it. Okay, that's great. This is
that particular for this view, but for the regular tree, you actually go here to the settings, and if you look at more actions, and there's something called print, but really it's not printing what you see right now. It takes you to another section of the tree called charts and books, which is a very large section. And you can specify all kinds of templates and all kinds of views. How do you want to print the tree? Your close family, your bow tie ancestors, and so on and so on. It brings you to here, and then you generate the chart, and that creates a PDF. So that's another way of printing your tree, and there's different ways. But it's not directly from the tree. It brings you here. Yeah.
Okay. And I have a webinar that Uri did previously called Printing Charts and Books on MyHeritage. So I'm going to share that in the chat. And then you'll be able to watch that. It's free, so you can go ahead and watch that. And that will give you more information on like what he's showing right now on his screen. All right. Susan wants to know the relationship tab, as well as just all the family statistics, are those available to everyone? Regardless
Yes.
of what level membership that they have?
Yeah, they're free.
Okay.
So it's based on what family tree you can build, based on your subscription level. But once you have your tree, then all of this is free. Yes.
Okay, great.
There's no paywall particular for this area.
Okay. All right, we covered that one. Jane says, any tips for finer filtering for military, gender, and things like that? Or maybe that would have to be something in the future with the statistics. Or can you do it now in a different way, maybe with tags or something like that?
No, there's no way to do that. We are considering potentially doing things like that, like by immigration, by cause of death, which I mentioned, by military service, things like that. So
that would be terrific.
More things to add here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely heard those requests.
It's so good as it is, and just a couple more things and it would be just phenomenal. Absolutely. Yeah. Immigration and military and cause of death, that would all be great.
Like different occupations of your family.
That would
all
be
the farmers and all the carpenters and all the blacksmiths and so on.
I would love that. I would love that. Let's see. Kathleen wants to know if you're going to create a merge duplicate. It's not quite doing with the family statistics, but just in terms of the family tree. Is there any way to merge duplicates in the family tree?
So there isn't a great tool. Like I showed you here, there are all kinds of ways to find those problems, but you have to do them manually. But once you find them, you have to kind of cut and paste and delete, and you have to do it yourself. We have been receiving requests about that for years, and it's in the pipeline. I can't tell when, but we're definitely working on improvement to detecting those things automatically. And once those are detected, you can go and easily merge profiles, individuals, like you see in other companies in our space have. So yes, it's definitely coming. I can't say exactly when, but within a year or two, definitely.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Well, Uri, this has been a wonderful webinar. I've really enjoyed this. I think it's a phenomenal feature. I can see how I could really use this. And the audience, they are saying they're saying great tool, loving it. That's from Barbara. This is all very useful from Connie. Can't wait to try it. So definitely, this is definitely added bonus to MyHeritage. So thank you for creating this. This is wonderful. Appreciate you stopping by and explaining it all to us.
Thank you. And you mentioned that Danielle is going to do a webinar about RootStack. So RootStack is coming up beginning of March, first week of March. I will be there. If any one of you is going to be there as well, you can come to our booth. And if you have any more questions and want to see more demos, I'm going to be there presenting and answering and having fun.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we hope to see everyone there at RootsTech. Uri, thanks so much for stopping by today and for this presentation. I think it's been a real eye-opener. Greatly appreciated. And thanks to our audience. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you at our next MyHeritage webinar. All right, that's it for today. Bye, everyone.